And good morning. It is 18 minutes after 7 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning from Oasis Computers, John back with us. Morning, John.
Good morning. How is everybody?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing all right. Could be better, but it could be a hell of a lot worse.
This is true. Just when, there are days where you're like, man, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I better not wish for that because
Right,
I don't want to find out.
Right.
Well, how's things at Oasis Computers this morning?
Finally calming down a little bit again. It's been
Good.
extremely busy there for a week and a half.
Okay.
Like everybody had to come in at once as usual.
Sure.
But, that's okay. We run a little bit behind, but we're caught up again.
Sure.
And we ended up with lots of used laptops that unfortunately going to be obsolete in 4 years, even though they're still great machines and
Sure.
would have probably longer life in it. Windows 11 came out. So Windows 11 now...
Is it a total different...
No,
beast,
but yes,
or
it
is it-
looks totally different. It's very nice. I think it's very nice. Most people, it's very nice. And it's almost like we hate Microsoft for what they did, but their interface is nice.
Okay.
Something to that effect.
But it feels like, does it feel like, now we got to learn something new now?
No, from a technology point, from a, what it does.
Like a user perspective?
No, from the underlying technology.
Okay, gotcha.
It's really no different.
Okay.
They made some changes in it where it will not run on seventh generation I processors from Intel.
Okay.
They're not that old. I got one that's 4 years old. No, what is it now? It's almost... Well, time flies when you're having fun. Let me rephrase that. That was 2016. So that's four.
Okay.
That's almost
5
six,
years
That's
old.
almost 6 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's getting there. But that one works fine. It's fast. It's good. And it can run Windows 11.
Mm-hmm.
I got half my computers don't run Windows 11. Now, you got 4 years left in it because Windows 10 is supported for another 4 years.
Gotcha.
But lots of these machines that we had seen on the show, 3 years ago with the old ones we put Windows 10 on, they still work fine, So from my point of view, what Microsoft just did is fill up the landfill in 4 years.
Yeah. That's...
The stuff that's not needed at this point yet.
Sure. And the people are going to transition out of it over that 4 years' time. And then, that's technology. That's what...
Well, it
just seems like
but the
Microsoft-
problem is it needs two things. The newer type processors, so they just picked the number, I think, and said, okay, the, 7th generation, that we don't use no more, and anything before that. Now, supposedly on a Pentium of 20 years ago, it runs without any problem.
Really?
Yeah, I read an article on that. Don't know what the scoop is on that. Didn't quite get the details on it, but that was kind of weird. Anyway, stuff that we work with right now, it does not work on those machines, and it needs a TPM module in it. What is a Trusted Platform module?
Okay.
That thing helps with security.
Okay.
There's a 1.2 that came out in, I believe, 2004, and they don't want that one, even though by security people... Steve Gibson, for instance, he says, yes, it's not as good as the 2.0 version that came out in 16, 14, 16. Maybe that's why the i7s are, I'm not the i7, the 7th generation.
Gotcha.
It's not done anymore. Not sure. Anyway, the older version has like 90% of the security in that the new one has.
Okay.
And from their perspective, the security people's perspective, it's like we can use that 1.2 just fine and keep the machines running a little longer.
Okay.
And Microsoft just decided, no, that's not what we do. So there's a little bit of rumbling about, and knowing Microsoft, it may reverse, but I wouldn't count on it.
Gotcha.
So when you buy a machine, there's new machines that can do it. Brand new machines right now being sold that cannot run Windows 11. I actually have one on the shelf.
Wow.
A weird model because we were short on everything, tried different things. This one told me it couldn't update to 11. Not sure what the scoop is on it. I haven't researched yet, but maybe it's a loss. It's also a $900 computer, so
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah, no kidding.
But anyway, my stuff, half of it is obsolete, and I'm not sure what to do with it. So you can run for 4 years without any problem. Then Windows 10 is not supported. You can't upgrade to 11. It doesn't allow it to run unless you make a modification in your registry, and then it installs fine. But supposedly it doesn't get updates then.
Well, the part that makes me wonder is, where's the timing on? And granted, we live in the COVID world right now. Computer chips, things, I mean, it's really impossible, the supply and demand. Is it the best time to release a new software thing where you're going to need to upgrade a computer in maybe 4 years or now, depending on how old your computer is?
Well,
and it's really hard to get a new computer right now.
This timing looks really moronic.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it. Now, from my point of view, don't know what listeners think of it. I try to keep stuff out of landfill. I think it's a bad thing. I do believe in global warming and all that stuff.
Well, they have those e-waste events where they try to recycle a lot of that
and
stuff.
I see the plastic in the ocean on whatever show I watch, and it's like, my God, this is bad. We should do something about it.
Yeah.
And then throwing these good machines that work just fine in the trash can, it just doesn't sound right.
It doesn't feel right.
The good company would say we keep it running as long as we can. I do remember back to when we started up, the first 10 years, let's say, and then people would bring a machine in that was 5 years old, and we would look at it and they go like, my God, what are you doing with this 5-year-old
dinosaur
piece of crap here? It just, it doesn't even perform anymore.
Yeah.
So we had about 5 years of life, and then so much changed that you really wanted another one. Now, it's not really hardly any reason.
The advancements aren't exciting enough to want to purchase and upgrade to the newer
The machines that are still around that are doing okay. Some are obviously like, geez, this is slow, and yeah, that's too old. But they're 12, 13 years old. So the stuff that's around that works good, it's getting to the point that speed test or that performance test we run on it, we want it no lower than about 1,000 because then it starts showing that it's really slow. And the new one, the cheapest new one we sell, runs in at about 1,100. Well, in my opinion, it should be a little faster, but the price is right on it for some people. Then it does the job. So, but so do all the old computers. They run, and the one I was talking about earlier. The one that's now obsolete, I just fixed it up for a customer, put a solid-state drive in it, and it runs at 2,200.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's obsolete in 4 years.
Well, enjoy your speed for 4 years and figure something else out.
Yeah, I think it's not, it's something that we need to know.
Sure.
Be careful what you watch.
Sure. Don't invest in something too heavy if knowing that maybe in 4 years it's going to not be
So my response to it has been I lowered the price on the used equipment some because it's going to run out.
Sure.
And I'm trying to clear them out while we have 4 years in it, and then reevaluate what we take in and redo. The really bottom end that we were still doing, I need to cut those off. I already did several of them. They're almost not worthwhile anyway, but you get a machine for somebody that cannot spend much for I was selling them for 180. That's about as low as we go.
Sure.
So right now, for that price, you get a better one.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine, too, you're probably still seeing more repairs than news at this point because supply and demand is just tricky to get new computers and things. So I imagine you're getting a lot more of the repair side of things right now, trying to extend the life of things. And
the biggest employer for me, or not employer, the biggest customer is Microsoft by updating Windows, and then it don't work no more.
So a lot of people are getting the fix through those updates, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it's Microsoft's really fault. In a way it is, but what we've seen, and I always come back to the Windows XP Service Pack 2. I'm not sure if you remember that. It was a big thing. The security got enhanced. They made lots of changes, and Service Pack 2 was like a new version coming out. Except they gave it as a free update, and they still call it Windows XP and then call it Service Pack 2. So what we had to do was get machines in that were needing a reinstall of Windows or install of Windows, whatever. We installed Windows on it, but we didn't have the Windows with Service Pack 2 in it, so we had to add it to it. We done that for close to a year when we were updating with Service Pack 2. Anything we installed Windows on and updated never crashed. Never had anyone crash of those machines. Now, at the same time, millions of people were complaining their machine crashed that they were using. So obviously, when you load software on it, Windows is not by itself anymore. You put your programs on it. You put your virus on it that you didn't know. You put it on there. You put your crapware on it. Whatever stuff comes along as you're using it. Windows itself breaks itself. It can do that. It loses a bit here and there or whatever, and it doesn't work right. So with all that, the Windows, the machines that are brought in with problems are always the ones that the update does not work, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Because the stuff that's added to it. And a lot of it is stuff that we don't want. We always see, the what's it called? McAfee free antivirus is a big one. You install Adobe Acrobat Reader, and if you're not careful, you install the McAfee on it too. It's a little check mark in it you got to take off. They do that a lot, so you get all kinds of stuff in it you don't want, and then eventually it causes problem. I think that's why Windows upgrades crash. And then the thing that I really hate is you got about 5 or 6 different ways of fixing it, and I can never make any of them work. If I do, it's like we celebrate or something like that. The only thing that works is restore to earlier date, but half the time that's not installed. That's the only thing that I find that really works. Restore to an earlier date, but half of the machines have it turned off, and half that is not turned off works. But that's the best thing I got to get it back up and running. And then, of course, wipe it clean, put it back on. That's not a problem. You can make the machine work again. But fixing it is not very productive. Not very.
Yeah, it seems like you got to take it 2 steps back to get a step forward sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's talk. You kind of talk about the new Windows here. Apple. It's the end of the year. We're starting to see these folks put out the new stuff. The Apple stuff too. Are you seeing a lot of clamor for that kind of stuff, or with the new because it's a new laptop that they?
Well, Apple has the new chip.
Yeah,
they made it themselves, and that came out last year. And they're having some new stuff with better chips in it, some higher end stuff. And that I don't do much with Apple. I fix it, whatever. But I haven't seen the new stuff. I haven't seen it work. You can only do so much, and use yourself. So the word is that, my God, it's phenomenal. The speed versus the price that they charge for it seems to be incredible. And keep in mind, it's completely optimized for Apple, with Apple, through Apple.
It's all Apple.
Yes, that seems to be why they can do it. Their software,
which is great if you're staying in the Apple world.
Right, right. If you buy into the Apple world, stay with everything they do, I think you pay the extra Apple tax. But you get a good product in general. They have some flaws and stupidities in it, but in general, the quality is definitely better than anything else out there. If you just take it apart, whatever, you can see that. They do have some problems. They do get viruses, but it's all better than in our world where everything is like the Wild West or something like that.
At least there's some semblance of order in that little
right
if that makes sense to some
we can do whatever we want, and there you can't do this, you can't do that. Now a lot of people are especially Microsoft is moving in that direction. They want to get their stuff through their app store and not anywhere else, and kind of follow the Apple somewhat. Well, it makes somewhat sense because I'm getting stuck here. I lost it. It works better, overall. But then you can't do what you want anymore, and that's kind of a, bummer.
Are computers getting like cars? And what I mean by this is, it seemed like growing up, a lot more people did work on their cars at home, changing your oil, because cars mechanics were simpler then.
Right.
Now that the technology isn't, cars are more of a computer than a combustible engine anymore, it seems like.
Well, it's kind of, yeah.
Are computers getting, because in the old days, people, I could swap out my own hard drives or whatever.
The way
Is it a little
no,
muddier
you can
now?
still do that. Swapping out memory in a hard drive is still relative.
I didn't know if it was getting muddier to do that now.
No.
Or...
Well, yes, it is. If you compare it back to Apple, for the last, 4 or 5 years, my drive went bad. Or the machine went bad. I can't get access to the drive. Let's call it that way. So machine breaks, and normally what you do is you take the machine, you check it out. Liquid spilled on it, for instance. And we fix about 1/3 of the liquid spills with little luck.
So it's only if it just depends on what your fries.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's really bad looking, and we fix it, and it really looks like almost nothing happened, and it can't get it to work. So then you look for board replacement, whatever. But on an Apple, you got your files, and of course everybody has backed them up, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we know that.
Yes, we did. Sure.
And we would back up tomorrow. Anyway, so the files are on there, and the hard drive is soldered as chips on the board, so you can't take the drive out and move it somewhere else. So really important for those machines to do indeed have a backup somewhere, because you can't do anything with it.
Gotcha.
On any machine previous of that Apple or whatever brand, you can take a hard drive out, load it up with the machine that works, just plug it in there as an external drive, and you can read the files in general. What does bring me to another point, what I keep running into more and more is BitLocker. Any idea what BitLocker does?
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, it's encryption.
Okay.
So BitLocker basically protects your files that, let's say I steal the drive out of your computer.
Okay.
And I plug it in, like I said, externally on my computer to see what files you have on it.
Gotcha.
And then it says, this BitLocker protected, you need to get the code. Go to your Microsoft account, do this, this, and this. And, of course, I don't know what your Microsoft account is, and I can't find that and whatever, so I can't see the files. There's no way into it. Nobody can get into it at this point, really consider it lost. If you need that, if you don't want me to see your files and you got them backed up somewhere, hey, that's great. But, of course, the people that come in my store, they bring the machine in, and then, of course, it broke, and it's like, well, this is one of those where we can't fix it, but reinstalling Windows would do great, and everything is that mucks it up is gone. You got like a new fresh window. Yes, it's like buying a new house, or an old house that's been redone on the inside.
Mary Maids came in and cleaned it,
painted it, whatever. It's all new. So even though it's an old house, but nothing of the previous owners or people that lived there was showing. So we can do that. That's no problem. And then, of course, on my end, I end up plugging the drive in. And I said, BitLocker protected. And say, oh, I missed that. Or I couldn't see it because it wasn't working. Either way. And so then to get the files, you have to contact customer and says, what's your Microsoft account? My what?
No one knows that.
Well, not no one, but for most people, maybe I had one. Do you know what it? No, I don't know. Do you know password? I don't know. So then your files are lost once again if you can't get that. Then, of course, you run into a situation that you get a message sent to your phone, the phone that was changed out 2 weeks ago for a new one, and you decided to get a new number, so you can't get to that old number no more.
Right.
And it just, it rolls downhill, if you know what I mean, and it just gets worse.
I imagine people that have a lot of emails, that
email's not really a problem, because for most people, they do know their email account.
Yeah.
Resetting the password, if needed, is not necessarily too difficult.
Yeah.
And unless you have, especially if you have paid for email, that's fairly easy. You can call a company up. They will help you.
Sure.
But if you have, of course, free email, MSN, Microsoft, Google, whatever.
Yahoo, whatever.
Then, of course, there's no help. And sometimes that is lost at that point. Yeah, but
and I think most of us have those, too.
Yeah, it's more your photos or something like that. Okay. Those are things that you made yourself or got from somewhere, whatever. But if you make them yourself, you can't find it nowhere else. So you got photos of your parents that passed away or something like that, and then it's like they're gone. I would really miss that.
Yeah.
So
The moral of the story is, password, protect that stuff, and then remember it. Use it, write them down somewhere.
Well,
use the software. Do what you got to do.
We used to tell people, do not save passwords on the machine. When somebody hacks into it, they're in plain sight. In general, you can see them. And for the last year, we've been wondering about that. For the last 7-8 months, we've been going, just save them. Because too many times when somebody brings a machine and can't find it, I go look under the password sections in the browser, and there they are. And then it's like, oh, yeah, this brought us in again. Doesn't always work, but a lot of times it does.
Sure.
So, yeah, somebody else may get a hold of it, but that's not as bad for most of my customers as not being able to get your own files.
Sure. It's like anything else. What are you doing on this thing? If you're doing stuff that's got a lot of sensitive data, then you probably need to do some more security on your passwords. And things. If it's just you checking your Facebook every day and downloading family pictures and whatnot, then maybe something more simpler security, but something that you could save it and preserve it, but not necessarily has to be Fort Knox to get to.
Yeah, we're really getting to the point that its passwords do not work.
Yeah.
For whatever, however you look at it, there needs to be something better. They're working on that, but it's not doing much at this point. And then, of course, you have to deal with bad people that just try to get your stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's just it. And that's always been the case in the technology world. Whenever there's innovations, the people that are working to work around it are always a step ahead. It's
right.
You look at virus versus virus protection. There's always the jokes about, I think viruses are created by the virus protection people and all that stuff. And, and it's just the world we live in. Microsoft comes out with a new feature that's protecting. There's already millions of people trying to work around on that thing.
Right.
And probably have already figured out a way before the thing is even mass released.
Right.
That's just the world we live in right now. You
know, the other thing is two-factor authentication, meaning you have to type in your password in your whatever bank or wherever you're going to, and then get a message on your phone. Well, that sounds at first pretty good. Well, I got the phone most of the time with me. Now, in my case, the wife at home has is stuck in the chair. She had a stroke and can't really do much. But, I take care of some of the bills, the things that go through her account and whatever. So I'm sitting at work at my computer, and I go do something and says, oh, we sent a code to her phone. Well, she's at home.
Right.
So in this case, it's not too bad. I can call her. Say, tell me the code that you got. But still, it's an extra aggravation. And once in a while, we don't get through. We can't get a hold of the person that has that. And then you're stuck and can't do anything.
Sure.
So that sounds, two-factor authentication with a phone sounds great. I always have the phone with me. But the minute you start taking care of other people's stuff, then where does that go to again?
Sure. Or if you're, like you said, not on top of your keeping up to date your authentications, and you do it for a while, and it's like, well, that's sent to a phone I haven't had, or a number I haven't had in 2 years.
The other thing that we see is whatever you do daily is really not a problem. But there's certain things you do once in a while, and maybe it's automatic, like the passwords are. So you go along, and then after a certain amount of time, my issue is I go home and we need to log into something, and I go, well, that's not on this computer. So you hunt down, and then you forget what you needed to do. How did I do that here? On the one you're working on, it's set up to do that, but not on another computer. And if you buy a new one, you move that stuff over as you look at it, and it's not too bad. But if you just get off guard, then there's a lot of things we don't know. Yeah. The same reason why the passwords are forgotten. People make it automatic, and you automatically forget them.
That's true.
And then, the other thing I still want to warn for is the habit that Microsoft has to tell you sooner or later in Windows, you need to set up a PIN. I don't know if you've run into that, if you have seen it.
I have done that.
Yes. Now, what is the problem with that? You got any idea?
I guess if you forget the PIN.
No. You have a password. You start up, and then down the road, a week, a month, a year later, Microsoft will tell you with an update or whatever. Mostly it's after an update. It's like, oh, you need to make a PIN.
I got
So
you.
I made a PIN on my computer, deleted it back off. I made a PIN and deleted it back off. Made a PIN, tried to delete it back off. Said, no, you can't delete it at this point. And it's like, I don't want a PIN.
Right.
So I said, well, okay, PIN is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the password's a password. So you go along, and you, of course, find that 1, 2, 3, 4 for your PIN, 4-letter digits, four digits is easier than that password you got. So you go along with that. And then I know that even I will forget eventually my password.
Sure.
So I have to either look it up, find it, or if it went wrong, I may not have it. And then good luck trying to retrieve that.
Yeah.
You know. So one day, customer walks in and says, I ask him, so, okay, what's your PIN here? So he says, capital A, 1, 2, hashtag, something like that. And I go, no, that's not your PIN. Yeah, that's what I said. And the man says, yes, that is my PIN. And I go, no, PIN is for, that is my PIN. Oh, sorry, sir. Okay, I'll type it in. And it worked. Yeah, that's what I said, too. What the hell happened here? I was not aware of this. So when you set up a PIN, there is underneath it is a little check mark where it says use also letters and symbols.
So if you want to make it a
So
little
if
more
you take that, now the kicker comes in is that my password is, Roswell's Talk FM.
Yeah.
Just like it says there on the screen over there. So now I need to make a PIN. And guess what I did with my PIN? I called it Roswell's Talk FM. So the PIN now and the password is the same.
Gotcha.
I can't go wrong anymore.
Sure.
Of course, I was thinking the next thing that's going to happen is you can't do that. Your PIN needs to be different. But it hasn't done that yet. I've done this now for a year and a half or so.
So this is your fix until they kick you out of that
Well,
one.
I mean, knowing how much we forget, and I start realizing that I'm part of it too. What I do daily is not a problem. It's the stuff that you do once a year.
Sure.
Or less often even.
Yeah.
Then you go, how did I do this now?
Well, it's no different than, like, say you're on your phones, your smartphones, and you got your apps and everything. You got your apps you're on every day, and then there might be ones you're on once a month or once a week. But if you're not on those regularly and you got to log in every time and you forget the it's the same deal on your phone. It's no different. It's
We're creatures of habit, and the habit sticks, and then something different that we do seldom.
Sure.
And, of course, that was beautiful, the phone ringing there. That was a spam call.
They're up early.
Oh, God, yes. That's they're working on that.
Oh,
it's not. It's getting a little better, but not much.
I noticed for me, it comes in ebbs and waves.
It seems to be, yes.
Like I'll get one, and I'll get 3 more right behind it. Then I won't get any for a month, and then I get 3 more in an hour.
You're lucky, I guess.
Yeah.
Mine is like for a few days it's a lot less, and then suddenly it kicks back in, and it's more. I don't quite understand.
Yeah,
that's
well, and I got mine. You know how you can usually through your service provider you can put the block thing on, and I've done all that.
Yeah,
and it helps some, but it doesn't filter them all.
I got Google Fi running, and just like you said, I blocked it, and then I got a spam call, and I go I blocked this one too, and this one is blocked already. Then why did it ring?
Why did it exactly?
So the stuff don't work, is what I keep saying.
I always think maybe it filters some, and maybe it gives me a 30 or 40% less call of those calls.
It helps.
Yeah.
Let me put it. It helps. And I think eventually it will do pretty good because it's just too intrusive. It just, know.
And then again, everybody that's creating something to protect you, there's a million people trying to do a workaround on the other side. So, and the people that are, let's face it, that are making these calls, they're not the most highest of scruples people. So
there's just come to mind here. I saw it yesterday on Leo Laporte's show. Yeah. Which one was it? I'm not sure which one of the different sections they had it was, but I was watching it yesterday, and a kid in a school system somewhere broke into the system and rickrolled all public-facing screens and projectors and whatever.
Oh, wow.
It went all off, and he was lucky not to get prosecuted.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly he did. He sort of
Was it kind of a goof for him, or was he trying some real nefarious stuff?
he started off as being a guy that was just trying to hack into everything, just because he could.
Right.
Just can I do it, whatever, without any thinking of consequences or whatever.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to gain benefit, just to see if he could,
Sure.
more than anything else, the way I understand it.
Challenged
So
him.
then he found the school system he works in, and the first thing he noticed was that over the system, the controls run through the same network system as what everybody's using, like you have at home.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a problem at home. But in a sophisticated system, the control system to control the routers and the whatever you have, that runs on a different channel, a different network, and whatever, than the ones that you use for your data. So the students cannot get into that. This was all over the same thing like you have at your home.
Mm-hmm.
And he found a device that had a very weak password or no password. He got into that. He got going. He got moving it. Said he had a little hard time because he couldn't do it during school time. He had to do it after hours. He set up one computer in computer lab with a camera facing to the projector that he wanted to manipulate, so he could see from the camera on the computer in the lab what the projector was projecting up there and doing.
Wow.
So he went all that, and then he turned everything on at one particular day. And, of course, then he worked with the school system and said, I think your security's no good. We need to update this. So, that was an interesting story, I
Interesting.
thought.
Well, maybe he just put a audition for his next job out there.
He already had moved over. This was from high school, I think.
Yeah.
He moved over to the next, wherever he went, and it's like, hey, yeah, we need you.
Yeah.
And, of course, Leo Laporte there was making a comment. That's the one you want to hire.
Yeah.
Because he knows what to do, where the people that running it have no idea, really. They
It's kind of like that movie Catch Me If You Can, if you've ever seen that movie, that Tom Hanks movie, where and it's about a famous, guy that was basically a fake pilot and
right.
a bunch of stuff for years.
Yeah.
And he ends up getting caught eventually, but after that, he ended up working for the FBI for years.
Right.
Basically telling them how he did all his stuff and spotting other people doing the same thing.
You want the mind and the inside of the guy that can do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just thinking the wrong way. You know, we're thinking about we got to make it work and not make it too hard. Mm-hmm. And then security falls by the wayside, whereas the security should be number one, but then gets too hard to operate. And the people doing it, they go like, what happened here now? What do we need to do? Whereas the guy that studies it and is really his hobby and trying to do it, he just does.
Exactly. Well, it's his passion or her passion.
That's it. That's Can't beat that.
Exactly. Just all the time we're running short. He's got to get back to the office here. Folks, if probably a lot of folks looking to get some computer work done and things right now, he's got it's not new hours. He's had these hours for a while now, but he's got it set up so where he's doing a lot of his visiting and quick fixes in the mornings, and devoting his afternoons to working on the bigger problems.
I've changed the outlook just slightly. Mm-hmm. We're open from 8 till 1. If you need to bring something in and we need to check it out, don't be later than 12. And if you have to come in to pick it up, please don't be later than 12:45.
Very good.
So I can leave at 1 o'clock. I have to go take care of the woman at the house. 1 o'clock. My main reason is to get back over there.
Yeah.
It takes from what am I gone from about 6:30, 6:45 till 1 is a long time. So I need to take care of her.
Sure.
That's my main reason to get back. And then when I get back to the store, we fix things, get people in by special appointment, run errands, or go on service calls.
Gotcha. Do what you need to do.
And it works.
Yeah, it's a great system there.
It's been really working. We have we don't do phones and tablets really anymore unless it's software.
Gotcha.
If a tablet needs to be reset, I can do that. If a screen is correct, I don't have parts. I don't do that. No time for it.
There's other places that can do that for you.
Gaming is not very effective at the moment. I hardly do anything with it. It's hard to get parts. Parts are expensive, whatever. It's just not time consuming, building them, whatever. So I'm not doing much in that department at the moment. Maybe we'll pick up when the economy and everything gets going again.
Supply and demand gets a little better.
Right. And then We do the regular stuff, the small home business computers, whatever. We replace them, sell new ones, and do used ones, refurbish them, and recycle whatever is not workable anymore.
Sure, absolutely. They can do. Put it this way: he's resurrected many a machine.
Oh yeah.
And so come on by. Like you said, come by in the mornings here.
Right.
Calling is always a great way to reach out.
I try to answer the phone. The phone moves over on the cell phone, so the business phone does, so I can answer it anywhere. Of course, once in a while I'm driving down the street to some place, have no connection or bad connection or busy traffic. Don't always answer, but if anybody leaves a message, I'll try to call back.
Leave the voicemail.
I do not call back on just phone numbers.
Sure.
You know, that if you couldn't leave a message, I don't take the time to call back.
Gotcha. So leave voicemail if you don't get
if you
John
need
live.
it.
And then,
you can also text to that number, by the way.
And give out that phone number for folks.
That is 575-625-9141. 1703 North Garden Avenue.
Yep, right by the Wool Bowl.
Exactly.
Yep, come on by. Like I said, in the mornings.
It seems to be that people start going from 10 o'clock and on. Lots of times from 8 till 10, very little going on.
So,
and then 10:30, 5-6 people at once.
So pro tip.
Come in early.
Come in about 8:30, and you probably walk right in. Shoot, you might even have a cup of coffee with John here, depending on how things are going that morning. But definitely. Excellent.
Very good.
It's awesome. Appreciate the visit, and we'll see you next time. I'll make sure I write it down next time, and then and we'll see you here.
Very good. I was a little surprised. I'm wrong.
No, you're right. My brain hit a cramp. We'll talk to you next time. All right.
All right. Very good.
All right. It is 7:50.